Good afternoon.
Hold on. There we go. Hello, everybody.
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. How are you, Miss Samira?
I'm doing really well. Today's a good day. How about you?
Fantastic. You know what? Not too bad. I can't complain. Things are going pretty good. Getting to that fun, busy time of the year, but I'll take
But
it. I will take it.
Oh, it's good afternoon. I was gonna say good morning to all you guys, but realize I'm in Cali. Afternoon.
It is still morning for you.
Yeah, it's still morning for me.
Nice. What part of Cali?
Bay Area.
Okay,
okay.
nice.
Baby. Yeah,
I'm the Bay. I'm here
from the
for it.
Bay. Yeah. Just had the Super Bowl out here.
Yes. Oh, that's right.
The Bad Bunny
I bet it was
concert.
wild and crazy
Traffic.
kids out there.
Right.
I'm from the Bay. I live in Texas. How you doing? Is it Dr. Roche? Did
Dr. Roche, yes,
I say
girl.
it right?
You
Okay.
said it right. I love it. You from the
Yes.
Bay? What part of the Bay?
I grew up in Marin City in San Francisco.
Okay. I'm actually
Ooh.
from Oakland. I live in San Leandro now. You know, I've
Okay.
upgraded in life, you know.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
yes,
I've lived
I
in
went to
those
school in San
places.
Francisco. Okay, all right, yeah. I went to school in San Francisco though.
San Francisco
Oh,
State?
no, I went to school in San Francisco because my mom worked in San Francisco. So even though I lived in Oakland, my schooling was in San Francisco. So I went to like
Gotcha.
Catholic schools and stuff like that out there.
Oh, nice, nice. We probably know some of the same people.
Yes, I'm sure.
That's so cool.
To hope. I love this. This is awesome. How's everybody? Hey, Tiana. Hey, Portia. Jonathan.
Hello.
What's up?
Buddy.
Nika. Natika, of course. Good, good, good. All right, y'all. Well, I think everybody's in. So, today we have a couple of guest speakers joining us. I'm gonna throw it to them in just a minute. But as always, I want to open it up if anybody has any wins that they would like to share with us for the past week. Anybody have any good wins that you have achieved, conquered, some that came together for you? Oh, Portia, what's that face? You got to tell us. You got to tell us.
Like as soon as you do a thing, it's on to the next. But
Uh-huh.
I finally tackled all the reconciliation that I needed to do in my QuickBooks.
Look at you.
You know, this long saga of my taxes and my QuickBooks. So, yet another step closer.
There we go. That's actually a huge win. That is phenomenal. Good stuff. I love that. There's something I was going to tell you about that. Oh yes. So this is kind of a note for everybody. I know this might be a whole lot of Alan for one day, but for anybody who has not seen it, right after this meeting, I am starting a 4 week master financial tax class in our community. So for just about everybody here, we kind of handle, all the taxes for you and whatnot. But I still believe it's important that you guys know, what's going on with your own stuff, have the education for it. So I will be starting that. That will be going on the next 4 Mondays, right after this session at 1 p.m. Central. So it's posted in the community if anybody wants to jump on. But like I say, I know there might be a lot of Allen for one day. And I'm okay with that, but just still wanted to invite you just in case you guys have not seen the messages come through. Anybody else have a win to share? Anybody else?
I can share.
Sure. What you got,
I
Dr. Natika?
I completed and submitted my tax organizer.
You did? I saw that.
I'm sure Tammy will be happy about that. On time. Wait, in advance. How about
In
that?
advance.
In
What are you? Because you're in
advance.
group 2, right? Yeah,
I don't know. I know I'm up there in the front somewhere, and
right.
I'm
You
I'm
are.
proud of myself. Y'all know my struggle, Anika.
I'm proud of you too. That is phenomenal.
I am very proud of you.
All day, every day, Natika.
Appreciate you.
Yay, that is good. Good, good, good. Fantastic, y'all. All right. Well, I guess from there, I will go ahead and throw it to our guest speakers for today. I've had the pleasure of meeting and talking with Dr. Roche for a little bit. She is a great mind when it comes to money and finances. So, like I say, hey, I don't want my voice to be the only ones that you guys hear. I want to hear y'all's voices, other experts to bring in as well. And the incomparable Samira has been a client for years and years now. And so I always tell Samira this, like, you just always bring such a certain energy every meeting we have. And it's just so contagious. So I'm super excited that they are going to be speaking with us today on I'm gonna let them get into it. And actually I want you guys to do your own introduction. So give us, for people who haven't heard of you, run across you, give us each, the 45-second version of, kind of your intro. I know a little bit, but I want to hear you guys give your own intro. So I guess Dr. Roche, you could go, and then Samira follow, and then I will let you guys get straight into your presentation for the day.
All right. Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's morning out here. I'm actually in California, but my name is Dr. Roche Brown. I am also known as the Doctor of Rethinking because I help people to remix their thinking so they can make money. You see the money on here, manage their money, and they can multiply their money. So that's what I'm all about. I'm a licensed clinical psychologist. Been in the field for about 20 years or so. The last 10 years, I actually started to really focus on finances. And so that's all I do is really like financial psychology, helping people with, their understanding of their money. I'm also licensed as a life insurance agent as well. So that is me.
And I'm Samira Bennett. I'm a licensed mental health therapist, a part of this community. I've been in the mental health field for 20 years. And I met Dr. Roche in a mastermind group in 2020. And just the education and wealth of knowledge that she's had, I really gained mentorship from her and really became in the financial business in the last 3 years. And it just has helped my practice and just has helped me overall in regards to the finance world. And I am looking forward to sharing the information with all of you. All right. And so we're going to get into a presentation. Do I have sharing capability right now? I don't think so.
Hold on, let's see. There you go. Now you do.
Okay.
I was going to play some music for you guys because we call this a money
Uh-oh.
party, right? But
Yeah.
let me just tell
Uh-oh.
you a song.
Uh-oh.
It's a song that says, I feel like money is attracted to me, right? Don't y'all love that? Money is attracted to me. And then it says, it comes around like honey because I'm fly like a bee. Come on now,
Yes.
right? We want the money to stick on us. Okay.
I am here for it. I love it. I love it.
And
Are you
actually
all
getting it ready.
switching?
I like to fire up the chat because I just love the energy of the chat. So if you want to make money, go ahead and put ones in the chat. Let me know. All right, we got people here
Yes.
that want to make some money, right? Because that's what's important, right? We need to make some money. But here goes the next important thing. If you want to manage your money, that means keep some of the money you make. Let's go ahead and put twos in the chat. Let me know that you want to not make it, but you also want to keep some of the money as well. We need to get that savings up as well. And then if you want to multiply money, you want your money to have money babies out here, right? They go ahead and put some threes, put some dollar signs in the chat. That lets me know that y'all want to hear this information because we have to definitely get educated about money if we want all those things to happen for us. Okay, she got it up down, but just love to fire it up, see what y'all about.
Right. Well, let me go to the next slide. Here we are.
I'll get started with this part. So, because we both are therapists, and you guys also are as well, which is awesome. I always talk about that money is a relationship, right? It's a relationship, and when you think about any good quality relationship, right? Any kind of parent-child relationship, romantic partner relationship, whatever that is, it needs some positive ingredients, right? That needs to go into that particular relationship. So, you guys go ahead and put in the chat. Tell me what are some good ingredients that you need to be in a positive relationship with somebody, or even money. What would that look like? Let me go ahead and put the chat up so I can see what's going on in the chat. There we go. What's some good ingredients? Okay, a positive mindset. Definitely self-aware. That's great.
Mm-hmm.
Self-awareness, very, very important in a good relationship, right? Self-awareness, definitely. Oftentimes people will say, okay, there we go. We got trust, understanding, awareness, personal and collective interest. Love that. Love that. That's great. People often say even communication, right? Quality time is important when it comes down to a good relationship. And so we have to put those same ingredients within our money. And oftentimes we find ourselves anxious about money. We find ourselves avoiding money, right? Avoiding doing it. Sounds like I heard some good wins this morning, but they were all about getting your tax stuff together. But that's a great avoidance normally for most of us, to get those things together. And so we want to go ahead and make sure that we have some of these ingredients within a good, positive relationship. And on the next slide, I talk about something that you guys all, I'm sure, are aware of, right? It's the cognitive behavioral theory, right? Y'all know something about that? Y'all know something about that? And so the cognitive behavioral theory tells us that our thinking impacts our feeling, which impacts our behaviors. Okay, so our thinking impacts our feelings, which impacts our behaviors. And so what you see here is an iceberg. Okay, and when we think about the iceberg, we know that majority of the ice is underneath the water, and we can only see the tip of the iceberg. And so when I look at people and their money behaviors, right, the only thing I can see is the tip initially. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw out a couple of behaviors that I'm aware of. And if I hit you, you say ouch in the chat, okay? Right? So I'm gonna throw them out, you say ouch, okay? So one of the money behaviors that I often will see, I put here luxury spending, but this is all encompassing of impulsive spending. Maybe you're a person who ends up saying, I'm gonna go in the store and get one thing, and then all of a sudden you end up spending your money on a whole bunch of other things that you weren't really expecting to spend your money on. One of the things, oh, we got an ouch. We got an ouch in the chat, right? We got an ouch. Another thing that I like to put in this is even like Amazon. I feel like I got an Amazon addiction. I'm gonna go ahead and say ouch for myself, right? I feel like it's so easy to go ahead and purchase stuff from Amazon. It feels like Christmas every day. I don't even really remember what I even bought. I'm like, ooh, what do I have, right? So that can be a definitely. So we got some ouches when it comes down to spending. Here goes another one, and I put DoorDash, but DoorDash is all encompassing of, just dining out, right? Instead of cooking at home, you might be a person who eats out a lot and stuff like that. Let me go just get something fast food real quick. And you might also do DoorDash as well, right? And this is one of the biggest ouches for most people tends to be their eating, right? We find ourselves, we stress, we don't want to, maybe you got kids, you got to take them to basketball practice, football practice at the end of the day. And then you find yourself deciding like, oh, let me go grab something quick to eat, right? And so you find yourself, spending more money than you probably need to on dining out. When I ask people what are their financial goals, maybe it's to purchase a house. Maybe you feel like I want to have a retirement one day. I want to retire. Want to leave this job. It could be all kind of different goals that you may have. However, you often are eating up your goals. Right? You eating them up, right? You ate up that new house, right? You ate up that potential new car. You ate up your retirement, right? So we want to pay attention to like where our money is going, right? So it goes back to that self-awareness. And then giving. Here goes a big one. Giving is huge because I'll just tell you guys, I come from, the Bay Area. I come from an area called Oakland. Y'all might know Keisha Cole. You may know some Too Short, right? They came from those areas too. I used to say I'm a little bit more refined now because our vice president, Kamala Harris, also came from Oakland, right? But, I realized that in part of my life growing up is that I had to do a lot of giving, okay? Right? Because, I was the only one in my family who had any degrees. The fact that I had a master's and a doctorate degree, it became that I was the one who had the money. And so oftentimes I have to become the giver. People are always asking for money. And even though giving is a good thing, you have to figure out how to give in the right way that it's not to your own detriment. right? Even to your family, okay? So I'm not about not giving. I just mean that you need to figure out a plan on how to give. And then also there's carelessness. Carelessness can be a also area that how we manage our money, where we're just not paying attention to it, right? It's like that money avoidance. Maybe we're swiping, not really knowing where our money is going, okay? And that could be another behavior that often comes up as well. And underneath a lot of these behaviors are different feelings. So we often get shame and embarrassment, right? Especially if you talk about taxes, right? I'm sure you get it like, ooh, I don't even want to go to my tax person, right? Because you feel like I haven't been paying attention to any of this stuff. I don't even want nobody to see me, right? Like that, right? It's almost like you see me naked. I don't want this, too vulnerable. But shame and embarrassment is a huge thing, right? And what happens when we're in that state of shame and embarrassment, it'll make us avoid so much, right? That we never get the support that we actually need. Right. And so we want to make sure that we can get out of that shame and embarrassment, because often many of us have not been taught about money. And that's the reason why this has happened to us. And then we have other feelings that can cause us to have anxiety and depression. You could be a helper who needs help. Okay. Just because you were a helper in the world doesn't mean that you can't also need help yourself. Right. And you can find yourself in those same states that you help other people out of as well. And then I put here the YOLO. You might got the YOLO spirit. You only live once. Right. You might be like, oh, I deserve this purse. I deserve these shoes because I work so hard for this stuff. Right. So you might have that YOLO spirit that comes on you as well. And here I just put, ignorance, meaning that we often just don't get educated a lot of times around finances, right? We just don't have no education around it. If you look at your family, you look even your friends and your community, a lot of us don't really talk about money. We avoid those conversations. So we never get the education that we actually need. And at the bottom, usually this says, there's a quote in psychology that says, the way that the brain fires is the way that the brain will wire. Okay. The way that the brain fires is the way that the brain will wire. And so if your brain has been firing over like anxiety and chaos and drama when it comes down to money, it has now been wired that way, even if that's not your experience of money today, right? Maybe you came from a family where money was difficult and chaotic. And now, right now, you actually make enough money, but then you find yourself putting yourself in positions of anxiety because of the way that you're managing the money. Okay. So we just want to be aware of this. It's just kind of more of the stability area is understand the psychological impact of money before we go into some more practical skills. So Samira will go ahead and give you some practical stuff real quick.
Yeah, so you cannot see the bottom of it, the bottom of the screen?
Okay, I can
Oh,
see it
okay.
now. Yeah,
Okay.
there we go.
Awesome. So when we talk about practical skills, we talk about managing money, right? And I'm a big believer of the words that we say. Anyone know how to take this blue? Can you see that blue line? Oh, it's off now.
I
Perfect.
can. Somebody put it on there. Somebody
I
was
do
writing on the
see it.
screen.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay. I don't know.
we can't. Well, somebody would have to clear it.
Okay.
I'm
Well, it's
trying to
not
see
too
if
much
there's
of a
something I can do.
distraction.
I did see that. Yeah, I'm not sure how that happened.
Okay. I'm a big believer that there's power in the tongue. So what we start to say, right? You all know that what we start to say, our brains start to believe. And so a lot of people will create these money stories in their heads that they start to embody, right? And so I always want to be able to understand who I'm speaking to. So what are some money stories that you have often told yourself or that you grew up knowing, right? One of the ones that I always remember is my mom would say that, money doesn't grow on trees, right? And so thinking that maybe there's not enough, it's not an abundance because it doesn't just grow on trees, right? So I had a client that also told me that her money is funny and her change is strange, and she's always saying that, and wondering why things are showing up in her bank account the way that they are. And so I'm wondering what kind of stories have you heard or that's been popular in your family?
I got one.
Yes.
Hello. I'm sorry, I'm multitasking eating lunch. The story I was always told was don't spend your money. Don't spend it.
Yeah.
Save it for a rainy day. Something is always gonna come up. The minute you save some money, something will happen.
Oh, wow. Yeah, yeah. And Dr. Tiana said the same, well, similar, right? She grew up with the idea that you can't take money with you when you die, so you might as well spend it, right? And maybe some of those other stories could be that, instead of spending it, that we can invest it or that we can leave it for creating legacy and creating generational wealth. And so that's the idea of what we kind of want to start telling ourselves in regards to wealth statements, right? I create a lot of opportunities that allow me to make money, right? Money, every time that I look for money, money finds me, money is attracted to me. Those are some examples. And so I do encourage you all to create some affirmations around money to make you all more confident around that. When it comes to managing money, tracking our spending is going to be really important. Like everyone at the Pruitt family lets us know, right? That we want to be able to track our spending. And how we can do this is by budgeting with different buckets. So the first one is an expense account, right? Being able to total up all of your expenses and allow it to go to that one account that allows you to be able to pay different bills that are recurring, right? Whether that be mortgages, car payments, energy bills, etc. Right? Like Dr. Roche said, that giving is really important, but we want to make sure that we're not giving at a detriment to ourselves, right? And so being able to set up another account that allows us to put to the side that's going to be strictly for giving and not impact in our negative way our money that's going to be for us, right? And so the third bucket is the abundance fund. How many people have heard of an emergency fund? Put a one in the chat if you heard of an emergency fund. Or maybe if you have an emergency fund, okay, mostly everyone here, right? And so, like I said, the thing is power in the tongue. And so if you notice that you have an emergency fund and always looking at the emergency fund, there always seems to be something coming up that deems an emergency. And so what would it look like if we had an abundance fund, right? And the abundance fund is what we put in what we call a high yield savings, right? Put a two in the chat if you're familiar with the high yield savings or that you have a high yield savings, you're aware of what a high yield savings can do for you. Okay, awesome, awesome. And so the high yield savings allows our money to gain interest, right? Unlike if it's sitting in a savings account in the bank that is going to be growing 0.001%. But if we have it in a high yield savings account, we can be growing 3 to 5% interest within our accounts. Right. And so allowing us to create that abundance. And every time I look at that account, it's like, okay, we've grown interest since it's been sitting there. Right. And not necessarily connecting it with an emergency. So I'm so happy that you all have them or that you're aware of them. If you have them, setting up automatic transfers is really helpful for it to go to that abundance, right? Out of sight, out of mind, typically. And then if you don't have one, I would encourage you all to be able to sign up for one, especially if it's like through SoFi, Barclays, American Express, Personal Savings. I don't know, Dr. Roche, if you want to put it in the chat for some people. Capital One 360 is a good one as well. The fourth bucket is a wealth fund. And so a lot of people, right, focus on the here and now. And as we're building our practices, we want to be able to increase the money that we are making. I think it's really important, especially as entrepreneurs, that we're thinking about that longevity. So when it comes to the wealth fund, this is long term in regards to life insurance, permanent policies that are going to allow us to gain cash accumulation, right? When we think about retirement, we want something that's going to be supplemental. I don't know about you all, but by the time I get to retirement age, there's not going to be Social Security. And it's going to be really important to plan now so that when we do retire, that we have certain securities in place. When we talk about retirement, maybe it's like a 401k, a Roth IRA, 403b, right? Or investments, like real estate investments or stocks. Put a one in the chat if you have some investments already in place, whether that's real estate, whether that's the stock, or put a two in the chat if you have any kind of retirement already. If that's that 401k or 403b, maybe a TSP, maybe it's something like a Roth IRA that you already have and that you're contributing to. And then you can put a three in the chat if you already have something that's like a permanent policy or aware of it in regards to cash value accumulation that's going to let you grow your cash while having a life insurance coverage. Awesome, awesome. So people are thinking, I like to make sure of that, right? People are thinking about long-term and not just the here and now. It's so important. And so our fifth bucket is that fun money. A lot of people feel like, when you're on a budget or when you're trying to organize your finances, that there's no room for fun. there's room for fun. We just have to allocate those money, right? And make sure that the fun money is not mixing with the wealth money, that's not mixing with the abundance, that's not mixing with the expenses. And so we want to just make sure that we allocate fun money. And this is that account that we call it the swiper account because, right? Swiper, no swiper. Swiper means that, if this account gets to zero, that gets to zero. That means I've had my fun for the month, right? And so we're putting this is where we get to go to brunch. This is where we see that new bag that we've been eyeing, and we put our monies there. This is where we go on that girls trip. This is where we get to have some fun, right? Because saving and investing, it all can include fun as well. Okay, and that last bucket is that debt management, really being able to have continued financial education like this and being able to have mentors and business partners that you're able to connect with that or the Pruitt family, right? Meeting every Monday, being able to have that financial education so that you can make sure that you stay on top of that as well. All right. So now we're going to talk about how we're going to multiply money, right? Dr. Roche said, make that money have money babies. That's one of my favorites. So she's going to get into
Yes.
that.
Yes, I talk about this, making your baby money grow into some grown woman money, right? Or some grown folk money, okay? So who wants grown folk money? Excuse me. Who wants grown folk money out here instead of just some baby money, right? The wealth formula tells us that time plus money equals wealth. Okay. Time plus money equals wealth. Well, what does that mean, right? If you have a lot of time, you can have little money to get to the wealth game, right? Because you got a lot of time for it to grow, right? But if you have like maybe taking your time into getting your wealth up, that means you're gonna need a little bit more money to get to wealth. So that's just how it goes. It's an inverse relationship in that way. And as we're growing our money, we need to understand that there are three enemies to our money. Okay. One of the enemies that's to our money is inflation. Okay. That's a huge enemy to our money. We can go to the next slide. There we go. So we have inflation, we have taxes, and we have risk, right? Without proper planning, I mean, you guys are in the right place, right? 50 to 60% of your money can go to taxes if you're not paying attention to the tax game, okay? And so we're going to kind of break down each one of these enemies, okay? One of the enemies being inflation. So we'll go to that one first. And I'm just going to name a couple of things. You guys can look at this screen, but we understand inflation really well. I'm looking at everybody's ages in here. I can tell y'all have lived it at this point, right? We've lived it. I remember when I was younger, I would hear people talk about it, but now we're in the place that we've lived it. Prior to the pandemic, the inflation rate was around 3 to 4%. Right now, inflation is a lot higher depending on what we're looking at. It could be either 6 to 9%. And what's important about knowing that number, right? Any one of them, just knowing 3% or 6 to 9%, is you want to ask yourself at your job, if you guys are at a 9 to 5, are you getting at least a 3 to 4% raise every year? Right? So I want you guys to really take that in and answer that question for yourself. Am I even getting a 3 to 4% raise? Okay. The next thing is that if you guys are working for yourself, are you giving yourself a 3 to 4% raise? Right? Because most times when we are like self-employed, we often are not thinking about giving ourselves any kind of raises, right? Which means that you may also might not be keeping up with inflation. One of the examples that I like to give, I'm 42 to give you guys context, but when I was younger, I can remember a number one at McDonald's being $2.99. Okay. It used to be $3.24 with tax. I remember I could ask for $3.25 and I could go ahead and get a whole number one. That means you got the burger, the fries, and the drink all for $2.99. Can you imagine that? Can y'all remember that time? Now, if you were to go to McDonald's and actually get a number one, I mean, how much do y'all think it is, right? Y'all may not go to McDonald's like that, right? I don't even go no more because the way that my hips is set up, they don't work the same way like they used to back in the day, okay? But a number one at McDonald's easily can cost you almost like $12, so it's almost like quadruple the price at what it was before 20 to 30 years ago. So if we think about that, and that's just an example of just one item, if we think about, 20 to 30 years from now, right, when my grandchild is asking for some money to go to McDonald's, I'm going to have to give them $100 bill, right, in order for them to go and get something at McDonald's, right? Because it could be easily, almost 3 to 4 times what it is today. Can you imagine a number one being like $30, $40 just for one meal? right? So that's some of the things that we have to think about, right? I wish I would, but baby, you're gonna have to. That's you got no choice, right? Like that's what's gonna happen. And we're just talking about something that's more of a luxury item. I mean, you don't have to go to McDonald's, right? However, if we think about eggs, right? We think about bread, we think about milk, we think about things that we do want to get. How much is that going to be in the next 20 to 30 years, right? And this is what like really impacts people when they're trying to retire, right? They're not making enough money compared to how the cost of goods are going up every single year, okay? And so one way that we outpace inflation is through something called compound interest. Y'all know about compound interest? I don't know if y'all talk about that, but okay. So compound interest. One of the ways I learned about compound, just to give y'all some context, I had a student loan, okay, and I was looking at my student loan. So all y'all, I'm sure, got student loans as well. And there was a time that I was paying on my student loan, and I was paying $700 a month on my student loan. Okay, like crazy amount, right? And I just like, it's not going anywhere though. Like why am I paying it? And it's not moving down. And so I ended up calling them, trying to understand a little bit more about it. And they were like, oh, well, $600 of it is going towards interest. It's like 600. You mean I'm at it like $100 on $100,000 loan is like throwing a quarter at it. You know what I mean? It's like nothing is happening. And so that's how I started to learn about compound interest, right? And compound interest works against us every day. So you see on this slide right here, it says APR. APR is right by compound interest. It works against us all the time. Our goal is for it to work for us. And so I'm going to give you guys an example of two different interests. There's the simple interest column that you can see, and then you see the compound interest column, okay? And so the simple interest column, like this is if I give you an example, let's say I'm gonna give Portia some $10,000. You're gonna be happy, right? I just gave you $10,000, okay? And so you decide to put it inside of a bank, right? And a bank grows as simple interest. And let's say the interest rate, just is for the math purposes, not because you really can find this, the interest rate is 10%, okay? Just for us to understand of it, okay? And so $10,000, right? Say you get 10% the first year, that means you made $1,000, right? Well, the second year, the same thing's going to happen. You're going to make 10% off of the original amount of 10,000, and then there's going to have another $1,000. The third year, the same thing's going to happen. You're going to make 10% off of your original amount. Then you're going to have another $1,000. Okay. So how long will it take for this 10,000 to double to 20,000 in this particular example? Okay. We already have the answer right here. But what you see here is that it takes 10 years for your money to double. Okay. And that's what we want to understand. Okay. It took 10 years. It was a long time for that money to double in that particular area. Well, let's look at the compound interest area. Oh, wait, hold on. Okay, let me just put this because I love this too. One of my favorite quote is compound interest is one of the most powerful forces in the world. It's either working for you or working against you. Yes, very much so. Albert Einstein says, he says it's the eighth wonder of the world or something like that, right? And he says he says this, he said, he who understands it will earn it, but he who doesn't will pay it. Right? That's how important it is, right? Like you have to understand it so you can earn it, right? We want to be on the earning side and not just the paying side of it. And now compound interest, let's say that we give the Oakland, is it Dr. Natika? Is it Nikita? Is that how I'm saying right? Okay. All right. We give you $10,000.
You got it,
right?
Natika.
Natika. Okay. I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. I know she's from the Bay, so I was just like, all right. So.
Oh, and she will get you if you don't get it right.
I'm sure she will. I don't like when people mess up Roche. Okay, so I understand. So $10,000. Say I gave you $10,000, and you say I'm going to put it wherever you say, Dr. Roche, because you know where the compound interest stay, right? And so you put $10,000 in, and so the first year you're going to make 10% off of it, the same way as the other column. So you made $1,000. Okay. Well, the second year something different is going to happen. The 10,000, which is your original amount, plus your interest of 1,000 is going to come together. Okay, it's going to come together, and your new total is now 11,000. Now you're going to make 10% off of that number, which is 1,100, right? So it's going to be a lot more. The third year, that amount that you initially had, 11,000, plus your new interest of 1,100 is going to come together. The new total now is going to be 12,100. and you're going to make 10% off of that number, which is now 1,210. So we clearly can see that the compound interest side is growing faster, right, than the simple interest side. Okay. So then the question would be, how long does it take for this to end up, doubling? And I'm going to tell you guys this because I think we didn't put the slide in, but the rule is called the rule of 72. And what you're going to do is that you take whatever interest rate you have. So here was 10%, and we divide it by 72. And in this particular column, it tells us that it's going to take 7.2 years for our money to double. So what we can tell is that the compound interest is going to take off 3 years of doubling time. So we want to make sure that we put our money where it can grow in a significant way, right? Not only just our debt being this way. This is why when you're trying to pay off your debt, you feel like you can never get out of debt. It's because it's always compounding on itself, right? And so you guys see this difference. You guys may know this already, but I always like to put APY at the top versus APR. APY is annual percentage yield. That's how your money grows. Where APR is annual percentage rate, and that's how your debt grows. And I think it's important for people to recognize that because most people always know APR. And I think the world is set up like this that we all know about our debt and we know nothing about how our money grows, right? We don't even really know APY as much as we know APR, right? Because we see APR everywhere, right? And that, yes, that was intentional. That was intentional. So we want to make sure that we're starting to pay attention to the APY of things as well. And so the most important thing you want to put in your notes is I need some compound interest. Where am I going to get that? So encircle that in your note. Okay, now we're going to move over to the next enemy of money. Samira is going to knock out risk for us.
Yeah, so when we think about our risk, we think about the stock market, right? And so this is just hate that blue line. But this is a stock image, right? That shows us how the stock market goes up and down and up and down. And so that's why we call it risky, right? Is it bad? Is it good? Indifferent? It is risk, right? And so if you see going up and down, you see this first arrow, right? This first arrow is indicating when there was a technology crash, right? And so you see that it goes, there's a dip here. There's a dip that goes down, right? And it's unexpected. And so people tend to lose money when the stock market goes down. And then it can have a good run and then it goes down again. This is in about 2008 when we had that real estate crash and huge dip, right? That people lost a lot of money. And then we had a really good run until about 2020. You see this third arrow in 2020, there was a really big dip. What happened in 2020? You guys can unmute or put it in the chat, whichever one you feel most comfortable with. But what happened in 2020?
COVID-19.
Yeah, the pandemic, COVID,
There you
exactly.
go, it's coming.
Right? Yeah, so COVID happened. What was the number one feeling people experienced during COVID? What was that feeling?
There you go, fear, anxiety,
It was fear, right? Fear, anxiety. Yes, fear and anxiety. And when people experience that, when the stock market is impacted by a collective of people having fears and anxiety, everyone takes their money out at the same time, which causes that collapse to happen. And typically with those, right, you never know when it's coming. It comes out the blue, but when it comes, it hits hard. And if you're not prepared for it, like someone that's constantly looking at the ups and downs of the stock market, it can really have a negative impact on you and your finances. And so that's when we saw there. We saw a lot of people lose a lot of money around that time. If you're paying any attention, if you have a 401k or anything like that, or 403b that participates in the stock market, you too also saw it in your retirement, right? That it was impacted by the fear and anxiety that people had and the downfall of the stock market, which impacts your retirement, right? So that's why we say that the stock market is risky. Okay, so in order to avoid this risk, a lot of people will put their money in an index concept, which I'm a huge advocate for. Put in one in the chat if you heard of the index concept before, index funds maybe.
Hey, Samir, quick note. Can you maybe stop sharing and then reshare again? I wonder if that'll get that line off.
Okay, that's a good idea. Let me see. Because it was driving me nuts as well.
So I was trying to see if we could figure out something.
Okay, let's
Hopefully it goes away. If not, I think Alan, you can go to the annotation like part, like where you would
Is that
write
what it is?
and press clear all writing. I think you would have access to do that if it doesn't.
Okay, let me see.
I think it's gone.
That
I
was
don't see it anymore. It's gone.
I think we're
Yeah.
good.
I think we're good. Yeah, there
Perfect.
we go. All right.
Hey,
Thank
okay,
you
good.
so much.
Yeah.
Okay. So put a one in the chat if you heard of the index concept before, or index funds. What the index concepts allows us to do, I think we have about, okay, 2 people. Great. Great. Awesome. Natika. So what the index concept allows us to do is to be able to understand that when the stock market goes up, our money goes up. But when the stock market goes down, our money is protected because it doesn't go down with the stock market because it's in what we call the index concept. And so I have this visual here because if you're anything like me, you learn better with visuals. And so let's say that I have my money in a 401k, right, in order to be able to save for retirement, and it participates in the stock market. It follows along with the stock market. And then Natika, she has her money in a index fund. So she's the orange line with her money in the index concept, and I am the blue line with my money in a 401k following the trends of the stock market, right? So the index concept and the 401k, we both start saving at $100,000. Have $100,000. And as we go along, we see that in 2002, when we had that technology crash, right, that stock market plummeted. And in 2002, with my money being in a 401k, I went down from that $100,000 to $59,000, so under $60,000. While Natika, the index concept said, hold on, we don't want Natika to lose her money. So we see the stock market go down. So let's just hold here until it decides to go back up. So when the index concept, right, when the stock market goes back up, Natika doesn't have to start from ground zero, right, from that dip that I'm going to have to recover from, right? So as I'm recovering until 2007, Natika was able to start off at 2002, right where she left off, and start climbing from there. So by the time 2007 happens, before that real estate crash, she's up again 100 into 143,000, while I'm up about 107,000, which is only $7,000 more than when we first started, where she's at 43,000, almost a $50,000 increase from when we first started, right? So this is why we love the index concept, because it protects our monies, right? And so as we move further along, as we're recovering from now this dip of the real estate crash, or at least my 401k is, right? Because I went back down to 71,000 that you see here, and then climbing back up. By the time we get to the end of this is a 16-year period. At the end, I am up about 150,000, which is just an additional $50,000 in the matter of 16 years that I was able to save towards my retirement, right? Which is very different than what Natika was able to do. Natika was able to more than double, right, her finances to $207,000. She was able to double it because she had the money in the index concept. Because the index concept, it says when the money goes up, when the stock market goes up, your money goes up. But when the stock market goes down, your money is protected. You stay right where you are. So when the stock market goes back up, you start where you left off of, and you never have to recover from the dip. That's what I want you all to write down, right? The index concept means I never have to recover from a dip, a market loss, a market crash. And that's going to be really important for you all to take home.
Right. And then the third enemy of money is taxes, right? And so this is all about taxes. So a lot of this information you guys probably know, but I know that repetition is the student's glue. Okay. So you need to hear it as many times as possible to make sure that you guys like truly understand how it works. So there are 3 different tax categories. Okay. And if you guys are taking notes, you want to go ahead and put them in categories. So go ahead and make those lines there. Okay. The question in the chat was index concepts. Is this available to regular people? Yes, it is available to regular people. That's why we're sharing it with you guys today, because it's something that you guys can take part in. And we'll definitely, have some individual meetings with you guys to see like how it can work for you as well. Now, here we go. The first category of taxes is tax now category. And so what falls in the tax now category? It's your income, right? We know this time, this is the income tax season time, right? You guys may remember old school CDs. I call them old school. They still exist, right? But they so old school. Back in the day, I have a lot of CDs. My parents were all about those. But I feel like they old school now because high yield savings are now available to you, right? So you don't really need a CD to get those same interest rates. And then, of course, you have your savings account, you have stocks, mutual funds, those all fall in this tax category. So, what ends up happening is that on your income, you get taxed one time, right? And then you're like, I'm gonna do something good, I'm gonna save. Right. And guess what? You're going to get taxed again. And it's called capital gains taxes, right? On that part. And you guys will notice that you usually from your bank, you'll get like a 1099 INT form. You submit it to your tax person, right? And so that's like you're getting taxed on the gains usually is what's happening in this particular category. Okay. Now, the second category is the tax later category. And that is where you have like your IRA, like the traditional IRAs, okay, which is individual retirement account. You have annuities, 401ks, 403bs, TSP, deferred comp. They could be different things, right? But these are ultimately like retirement accounts, okay? And what happens with the tax later category is this. Say you make it $1,000, okay? And you decided to take 200 of it and put it in one of those buckets. Okay. What happens that right now you're only getting taxed at $800. So you're getting taxed at a lower tax bracket, right? And so that makes you feel like, okay, that's good, right? I'm getting taxed at a lower tax bracket. What's going to happen with this money is that it's going to grow in one of these buckets, right? And then when you decide to take out your money from one of these buckets, guess what? 100% of it's going to be taxable. Okay. 100% of it's going to be taxable. So to give you guys an example of this to make it live, say you had $25,000 and your $25,000 grew to $250,000. Okay, you guys tell me in the chat, which one would you prefer to be taxed on? You want to be taxed on the 25,000 or you want to be taxed on the 250,000? What do you guys prefer? Yeah, well, don't say none, because that's what most people would say. That's what your preference really would be. It's like none. I don't want to get taxed at all, right? But everybody says 25,000. Well, my 401k or my retirement account says, don't tax me now. Tax me when? Later, once it grows, right? And so we just have to understand it. It does not mean that it's bad, okay? So I want to be very clear that it doesn't mean it's bad. There are benefits to it, but you want to understand what you're doing, okay? So when you decide to put your money inside of your 401k, it's going to grow to that 250,000, and guess what they're going to do? Tax it at that point. Okay. And things that I like people to understand, right? Because you're not going to take this out until after like retirement, is that probably your life currently, let's say right now you have a child, right? And so now you got a tax write off because you have a child. But then you get older, right? And that child becomes an adult. No longer going to be your write off, right? And they got more money, no write off. Maybe you end up getting a home, and maybe your home, you had a 30-year, mortgage or something like that. Right now, you have mortgage interest that you're able to take off, right? But then now you end up growing. I mean, now when you're retired, you no longer you've paid off your house or something like that, and now you have to pay taxes on that money. And so this is kind of what ends up eating up people's money oftentimes once they retire. And the good thing is that I'm assuming a lot of you guys have businesses because that'll at least be a write-off that you always will keep. But that means that a lot of that money could end up being taxed at that point. Okay. And these also follow the 59 and a half rule, which means that if you take money from any one of these categories before 59 and a half, not only will you be taxed, but you will be penalized for taking the money too soon. Okay. You'll get taxed and penalized. Okay. So we just want to be aware of how these things work, particularly for any of those that are like, I'm leaving my job. And a lot of times maybe you work in a toxic work environment. You're like, I'm just taking this money. Right. And oftentimes we just take that money and then realize that we got a whole lot less than what we were expecting. Okay. And so when you're in that position, you're going to leave a job, you want to think about how do I roll that money over into something that's like a like vehicle, right? So in the same category, so it's not a taxable situation, right? And if you are deciding to go withdrawal for whatever reason, right? It's a good thing that you have a tax professional you're working with, right? Because then now you guys can make a plan for that hit that's going to happen, right? That's why tax planning is so important, because if you're going to do something, don't just do it knee jerkly, right? Just make sure that you understand what you're doing when you're about to do it, okay? And then the third category is tax advantage category, okay? And so that's where you have the Roth IRA that you often hear people say. I realize I didn't change this, but the Roth IRA is $7,000 now. It's the max you can put in per year. And it follows the 59 and a half rule still, okay? And then you have 529 plans that fall in this category as well. And then you have the cash value portion of life insurance, okay? Right? Like all life insurance is not created equal, but the cash value portion is also in the tax advantage category, okay? So in this area, this is after tax money, okay? So you've already been taxing the money, and then you're putting it in one of these categories, and it's going to grow. So it's like the example that we just gave, $25,000 growing to $250,000. What has happened is what you guys prefer, right? The 25,000 was taxed. So when it grew to 250,000, guess what? That's a real number. And it's a lot easier to plan for your future self, right? Your retirement self, whatever that's going to be, on a number that you actually understand versus the number we're unsure of. Right. And so in this area, you're not going to get taxed on that money. And so nothing's bad about any one of these categories. The most important thing is that you understand how they work, right? And understand how they work for your particular financial picture. Okay. And we also don't want to be heavy in just only one category and not the others, right? So our abundance fund is going to be up in that tax now category, right? If you get taxed later, if it makes sense for your financial plan, maybe even a SEP IRA, you're going to put, money there. That might make sense for you, right? But then also you want to have money in your tax advantage growing as well. So you just want to kind of be diversified in the tax way, ultimately, to have money in different buckets. Okay. Yeah. So here goes a couple of questions, right? Would you prefer your retirement to be taxable or tax-free? Right? Some of the things we have to think about, right? Taxable or tax-free. If you could grow your money when the market goes up, but never lose when the market goes down, would you want to hear more? Right? And if that's a yes, go ahead and put a yes in the chat. Let me know. Would you guys want to hear more about like how that works? So what we have is an opportunity for you guys, because I know we're at the hour, so I know you guys are probably about to be done. So we go to the next slide real quick. There's different areas where we place our money anyway. So let me get to that slide. Oftentimes, okay, we can just stay here. It's fine.
Okay.
So what we have an opportunity for you guys is that we can meet with you. We can meet with you individually. We can go over business and personal cash flow review real quickly with you guys. We can review your current life insurance and retirement plans as well. And we can work with, Alan and everything about what makes sense for you too. But we can also tell you what opportunities we have for you guys, even if you guys want any money management suggestions as well. You can text your name to this phone number right here. If that's easier for you guys, you just go ahead and text it. And you also can follow us on Instagram. I am Dr._Roche. Samira is Samira Bennett, LCSW as well. So, follow us, even to get more information there. But we get opportunity for us to just meet with you guys. It is free. I need to say that it's free. We're not going to charge you on anything. It's free for us to meet with you guys. But if you guys have things that you hey, I just would like somebody just to review this real quick, let me know, am I on the right track for what I have? Or somebody had asked, can a regular person get the index concepts, right? That is the magic word, the free part, yeah. If somebody asks about can a regular person get into the index, then yes, we can actually show you different products that actually follow the index concept, right? So, the index concept of life insurance, index concept of what are called annuities, have opportunities for you guys to be a part of the index as well. Okay, so you guys have both of those. Any questions? Since we do have a good 5 to 6 minutes as well, that we can answer a couple of questions. We were trying to be very time conscious, make sure we knock through everything. Questions are
Don't
comments.
be shy, y'all. What questions y'all have?
Yeah, questions are comments. I love to hear good things about myself too. So you can just go ahead and put oh, that was, I love that too. Both Samir, I'm sure, love some praise. We can throw that in there as well.
Yes.
Well, I'll start off and give you guys some praise. This was so very good and informative. I think you guys hit so many nails right on the head of, hey, learning about interest, as we talked about, it could be either working for you or against you. One of the things that I always say is like almost everything can be planned out. Like you were talking about, hey, let's plan out those investments. Let's
Yeah.
first piece is let's get those investments, and then
Yes.
let's start. We can always work on the back end of how we need to, tax plan around them, how we can set them up. But absolutely, you want to start off getting those investments. So
Yeah.
this was great. Anybody have any other questions for them?
Even if it's just a little bit, right? Like in
Hmm.
investments, right? At least starting and like having a recurring amount
Yes,
that's going
starting
towards
Right.
small,
investments, you just
even
got to
something.
start. Yes.
Yes. Even if it's as simple as, extra 50 bucks a month. And I think you hit it right at the top. Think of like the door dashing, that buying that extra bag when you're out.
Right.
Like if you just replace one of those things per
Yes.
month, hey, let's start with 50 bucks that can start building wealth and having that interest work for you over the long haul. I love that.
Mhm.
Yeah. I always say it's more of a harm reduction. I'm just speaking to like therapists, right? It's more of a harm reduction model than an abstinent model. When we're thinking about these things, oftentimes people look at their money, they'll be like, "Ooh, I spent this much money on food. I'm never gonna eat again," right? Now that's not gonna happen, right? You're gonna relapse right away, right? But if we do a little harm reduction and say, instead of me eating out 7 days a week, let me go to 4 days a week. Now that extra 3 days can now be redirected. So I think the problem
Yes.
with us is that we don't know how to redirect our cash flow, right? So when you do have this extra money, you don't want to spend it on something else. Now we want to say like, okay, let's invest that money into a different bucket as well. That's what we want to really make sure we're doing.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. I agree. Let's see, anybody else? Anybody else? No, this
any
is
other
great. And then
questions?
what I will do is I'm gonna get with you ladies to put your we're gonna have this, recording in the community, get your info up as well, get a link from you guys if anybody's interested later, if anybody watches the replay and wants to connect with you guys on how we could get that index set up, how we can, start small and get some stuff rolling. It's all
Yeah.
about, a as they say, a avalanche often starts with just a snowball, one
Yep.
small
Hmm.
snowball down the hill. So that's what we want to get going.
Yeah.
So
Thank
awesome.
you
So
so
so thank you,
much.
Lacey. Anything else y'all want to end with, Samira or Dr. Roche?
I just thank you for
Oh,
allowing us to bring this information to the community. I know it was life changing when I heard it, and so I was so excited to be able to bring it to other therapists in the field, just because it's so impactful when it comes to individual planning. When we talk about building our careers up as entrepreneurs, but also family planning as well. And so I just appreciate your time.
yeah. And Samira, you got some
Oh,
text messages? I know it's on
I
Samira's side.
did,
So,
I did,
okay.
yeah.
All right. We got some fast
So
actors. I just like to give some praise to those who are fast
yeah.
acting, making things happen as well, too.
as I always say, action takers are money makers. So good job.
Yes, I love
Great
Yes.
that.
job,
Yes,
y'all. That is
definitely.
phenomenal. Well, good. Yes, yeah,
Right.
no, no, definitely. I want to thank you both. Like I say, kind of hearing what you guys are putting together. Absolutely want to be, spreading the knowledge as I mentioned, I'm always about education and information because, once again, information can truly change your situation. And, hearing
Yes.
good information like this is what's very important. So no, thank you, ladies. I appreciate it. We'll
Yeah.
definitely be
Thank you for having
connecting
us.
more soon. No, this was awesome. So, thank you guys. Appreciate it. And as always, remember, the sooner you get to your dream practice, the longer you get to enjoy it. And we're here to help you every step of the way. Y'all have
Thank
a
you.
blessed Monday,
All
y'all.
right. Take
Bye.
care. Bye
All right.
bye.